Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is NopeNapNarp, and today, Bloodborne. That's it. It's just Bloodborne. I love it, you love it. That's the end of the video. Goodbye, see you next time. Yeah, right, that's not the end of the video. We have a lot to discuss. Please don't go away. Welcome to Psychology of Gaming, the series where we analyze elements of the games we love through the field of psychology. In today's video, we're going to be talking about From Software's 2015 release, Bloodborne. Have you heard of it? It's a Gothic-style action RPG with all of the usual ingredients from the Souls formula, but you already knew all of that. So now, let's move on to what this video is actually about and jump straight in to today's video. So as you play through Bloodborne for the first time, you quickly come to realize that the game is looking to invoke a sense of dread and horror in you as the player. And for me, it definitely got me feeling uneasy and anxious, especially because I was wearing headphones while playing. Macabre visuals litter Yharnam streets and its surrounding areas, and that enhances the impact of the Gothic horror and the subdued fear that the player experiences. Yet, the only way to overcome this uneasiness and fear is to keep progressing through the game and uncovering the truth, all while engaging in vicious and aggressive combat. Using transforming trick weapons, the player fights through Yharnam, all the while they are fearful for what may lie ahead. But they come to learn that the only way to overcome this horror-filled world is with pure aggression towards those who stand against them. These themes of fear and aggression represent the developer's understanding of the amygdala. And no, I don't mean this big brute of a boss. Instead, I'm talking about the one that's already in your head. Now, don't worry, we're going to talk plenty about Amygdala the boss in due time, but before we do so, we need to understand the psychological perspective of this topic, and for that, we have to talk about the amygdala in your brain first. Before we get too far into this, let me just say it this way. When I say amygdala with the hard G, amygdala, I'm talking about a specific part of your brain, and when I say amygdala with the soft G, I'm talking about the boss of the game, so keep that in mind. Amygdala is the boss, amygdala is a part of your brain. Hopefully you can keep that straight, it'll make clarifying a lot easier as I talk throughout this video. But anyway, the human brain is made up of many different parts that all serve different functions in regulating your body and your mind. If you ever took an intro to psychology course, you may recall a chapter being all about biological psychology, which is the study of the physical brain, the nervous system, and how they impact a person's behaviors and mental processes such as thinking, speaking, and experiencing emotion. There are a ton of different brain parts that some biological psychologists spend their whole lives studying, but today we want to focus in on one of the smaller brain parts, and you guessed it, it's the amygdala. You can think of the amygdala as one part of your brain that helps to regulate your emotions, amongst other parts as well. But its largest role is played on influencing sensations of fear and aggression, as well as triggering the fight or flight instinct you feel when in dangerous situations. First, your brain takes in information using your five senses and processes that information in different locations. If the situation is deemed eerie or spooky, your amygdala is what triggers the sensation of fear that you feel. Then, if the real-life situation turns dangerous, the amygdala triggers the fight or flight sensation, and you either take off running or ramp up your aggression and attack whatever is threatening you. Ultimately, your brain's biological purpose is to keep you alive, and the amygdala plays a large role in ensuring your safety. And it's clear that Hidetaka Miyazaki, developer of Bloodborne, understands the amygdala's role in our everyday lives, and decided to make it one of the focal points while developing Bloodborne. Hell, he even named a boss after it. So let's see how this understanding of the amygdala influenced the game's development in two ways. First, we will look at it from the amygdala's physical presence in the game, as a boss, as an actual being within the game, and as creatures who are constantly watching over Yharnam, even if you can't always see them. Then, secondly, we will take a mental step back and examine how Bloodborne's developers took the concepts of fear and aggression and baked them into every aspect of the game's mechanics and feel. But first, we start with Amygdala Amygdala the boss. Let's start by talking about how you access the Amygdala boss fight. You can only fight Amygdala by traveling to the Nightmare Frontier, a dream location where a person's fears can take physical forms as beasts. Already, Miyazaki is playing into the fear factor here. However, you can't just go to the Nightmare Frontier at any time. You first have to collect the Tonsil Stone from Trusty Patches.
A most frightful fate. Oh my. But I'm willing to do you a kindness. Step lightly round to the right of the great cathedral and seek an ancient, shrouded church. The gift of the Godhead will grant you strength. Yes, I'm unquestionably certain.
When you first receive this item, you may think, what the hell is this? A tonsil? Isn't that what I got removed when I was 6 years old and they fed me lots of ice cream for a week? Well, yeah, but that isn't the tonsil we're talking about here. It's actually a reference to the Latin root words for the term amygdala. You see, in Latin, amygdala roughly translates to almond tonsil, because the size of this brain part is small like an almond and shaped kind of like a tonsil. The tonsil stone is a direct reference to this translation, which helps confirm the link between Amygdala the boss and amygdala the brain part. So, once you get into the Nightmare Frontier and once you fight your way through it, you reach the boss fight with Amygdala. As you first enter the room, you can tell that something is off about it, as it appears to be a dead end. And at this point, you can probably tell you're in a boss room. So, where's the boss? Well, again, Miyazaki and team are subtly trying to set you up as you feel confused, walking around for a bit wondering where's the boss, until suddenly it jumps down right in front of you and the fight quickly begins. A rush of adrenaline may overcome you as you see the creature is large, bestial, and super aggressive. It's meant to invoke some fear or horror out of you. Quickly, your fight or flight instinct takes hold, but the problem is you can't run. There's no option for flight. You're stuck in the boss room now and it's time for a fight. You run to the boss and begin slashing away, and if it's your first time doing the fight, you're probably doing it pretty frantically, as if your character was experiencing the same adrenaline rush as you the player are feeling in real life. You see, Amygdala the boss is triggering the amygdala in your brain, and the experience your character is having is the same experience that you the player is having. It's a brilliant way of making the game feel truly immersive. So from there, you either succeed and defeat the beast or die, only to return to slay it later as you literally conquer the thing that represents fear using your aggression. It's like fighting fire with fire, as the beast is true to its name and is super aggressive throughout the fight. Hell, the thing even rips off its own arm to fight you. Eventually, though, you prevail. But this theme of fear and aggression permeates throughout the game. This boss fight is more of a manifestation or a in-game physical representation of this theme that you experience throughout your time in Bloodborne. And that brings us to the second point. We're gonna take a mental step back, as I mentioned earlier, and see how Bloodborne incorporates fear and horror directly into its tone and into its gameplay. First, let's start with the tone. Obviously, Bloodborne tries to keep up the gothic horror vibes throughout the game after piling them on through the first half. They want you to feel how oppressive this atmosphere really is. The streets are deserted by normal citizens and instead are fested with half man, half beasts, and of course, full out beasts themselves. This atmosphere helps set up the feeling that the developers are hoping players experience during their time in Yharnam. Fear. Maybe not over-the-top, super scared kind of fear, but instead a lighter kind of fear that always exists throughout the game because of how oppressive the world is. They want you to feel dread, and according to many players, they succeeded. Whenever someone talks about how incredible and bleak the atmosphere of Bloodborne is, I always think about how much time developers must have taken to ensure that this is the sensation that a majority of players come away with. Fear and dread. Another sign of the amygdala at work. And again, I don't just mean the one in your head. I mean the literal amygdala in the game, as the oppressive nature left a lot of players feeling like they were being watched while in Yharnam. And that's because they were. You see, once the player gets enough insight or defeats Rom, tons of amygdalas become visible in Yharnam, hanging on the towers, always watching. They were always there, indifferent to your existence, but always supporting the dread and anxiety that you experience. Again, the amygdala of the game helps to trigger those feelings and sensations put out by the amygdala in your brain. Now, let's take a quick look at gameplay, and this is a topic that has already been somewhat covered before, so feel free to check out H-Bomber Guy's video on Bloodborne to get a more in-depth understanding of what I'm about to say. A lot of what I'm about to say actually comes from his research and his video on the topic. I simply want to summarize it and explain it through the lens of our discussion of the amygdala of the brain. So far, we've focused a lot on the fear side of the amygdala, but like I said, it also helps trigger aggression in a person. Bloodborne obviously accounts for this as well. One of the game's central mechanics is the rally system. This, of course, being the ability to gain some of your health back after taking damage by quickly striking the creature back. It is a brilliant mechanic that not only teaches the player that Bloodborne is meant to feature a fast and hectic combat system, but also to remain aggressive at all times. It's an incredible way to trigger player aggression and really have them feel the same way that their character in the game would if they were real. The intake of this information from the game is what triggers the amygdala in the brain to make the player embrace the aggression and to enjoy the game more because of it. You see, no matter what creature you come up against in the game, the fight or flight mechanic is always triggered in your amygdala. So only one question remains. Will you give in to the sense of oppression and run away? Or will you stay and embrace the nature of the hunt and fight on? So basically, to summarize, Bloodborne is an incredible game, and you didn't need me to tell you that. However, I hope this video has opened up your eyes as wide as Master Willem's to see that Bloodborne's inclusion of a creature called the Amygdala is a direct reference to the brain part of the same name. Fear and aggression are two of the central feelings that the developers wanted each player to experience, and I think it's safe to say that they succeeded. There's a reason that Trusty Patches views the Amygdala boss as a god, and it's because the creature represents so perfectly two of the central emotions that Yharnamites and players feel on the night of the hunt: fear and aggression. And so that brings us to the end of today's video. May the good blood guide you. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, comment your thoughts below, and as always, have a nice day, and take care.